Okay, so thanks everyone for joining. My name is Tenley Snow. I'm the OpenLMIS Community Manager. You've been auto-muted as you're joining today, as there's a large number of participants on the call. And we will be recording today's meeting and making it available on openlmis.org and the OpenLMIS wiki and a few online resources so that others can access this demo recording and be able to familiarize themselves with ESMS system in Mozambique. So thanks everyone for joining today. We have a large number of participants, both in the United States and in South America and in Africa as well. So welcome to everyone wherever you're hailing from around the globe, and thanks for joining the call today. So today we will be presenting some of the features and functionality in the electronic stock management system in Mozambique, so the ESMS system. So I'd like to allow Danny Yu of ThoughtWorks to introduce herself, and also she has one of her colleagues on the call with her. So Danny, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm Danny Yu from ThoughtWorks. So in 2015, we started this effort with ESMS, and I had been working with ESMS and Mozambique since then. And together with me is Jens. Jens, you wanna?
Yeah, my name is Jens, Jens Lieber. I'm business analyst, project manager at ThoughtWorks as well, and just recently joined the project for the Ministry of Health solution in Mozambique in July, beginning of July.
Thanks, Danny and Jens. And Danny, can you just quickly explain what ThoughtWorks is and just a little bit of background on ThoughtWorks?
Yeah, sure. So ThoughtWorks is a global consulting company. We do work with both commercial companies as well as NGOs. Basically help build software, build digital solutions, and do some user experience design as well.
Excellent. Thanks, Danny and Jens. So just quickly to kind of explain meeting logistics, because there's a large number of participants, you've been auto-muted. Danny is going to go through a few slides on the background and features and functionality of ESMS. And before the demo itself, we'll pause for questions. So instead of asking questions verbally, I'd like to ask that folks ask questions via the chat box. So you should be able to access the chat box there at the bottom of the screen. Type in your question. You can either send that to me privately or a question to everyone. I think if you send it to everyone, then others can also help respond via chat. But at that question pause, we'll stop and I'll be able to review those questions. Danny will also be able to view those questions and curate them and respond. Then Danny will walk us through an on-screen demo of one or two possible workflows in ESMS, and then we'll pause again for questions. So again, please type your questions into the chat box as Danny is talking. And then we'll continue with just a couple more wrap-up slides, and Danny will introduce an online sort of play environment where people can access and play with the ESMS system. And then we'll pause again for some final questions and wrap up. So please, if that's not clear, just feel free to type a chat in the chat box and I'll be able to follow along. But Danny, I think I'll pass it over to you and we'll kick it off.
Okay, cool. So yes, ESMS, Electronic Stock Management System. So the system we're introducing today is particular to Mozambique because all the research and all the features we designed were for Mozambique. So let's get started. First of all, what and why? So basically, ESMS is an Android tablet app for facility level stock management and requisitioning. It connects to the open source electronic logistics management information system, which is OpenLMIS. But we're using the version 2.0, and we know OpenLMIS is releasing version 3.x right now, so that's exciting. And we'll see if there's a chance for us to actually upgrade to 3.x. And there are two main objectives for building this app. The first one is to provide a user-friendly digital interface, which includes like automated calculations and populations to reduce the administrative workload of health workers. in the field. And then the second one is by collecting the timely and accurate stock data at the facility level, we would like to generate reports to assist the ministries of health and then other officials at different levels to better plan and allocate health commodities. So let's take a quick look at the background, how this thing came to be. So back in 2014, CHAI trialed a pilot version of the ComCare in Mozambique to prove the use case of ESMS. And then they actually found a good use case of it. So in 2015, they did some SWOT analysis or landscape analysis. And then the result recommended OpenLMIS and ELMS with customizations in Mozambique. In July, CHAI started to partner with ThoughtWorks to build the Android tablet app connecting to OpenLMIS with a 2.0 version of OpenLMIS. And in September, we piloted in 9 facilities in Mozambique, and we started doing user acceptance testing. We started collecting new feature requirements. So between 2015 and February of 2017, we have been working on new features and enhancements we collected from the Ministry of Health as well as from the field. So in March of 2017, ESMS was officially named Ciclus in Mozambique. It doesn't really mean anything. Ciclus is just the Portuguese translation of ESMS. And then PSM started the national scale-up of Ciclus in Mozambique, starting March of this year. So a few highlights of the ESMS system. The first one is the pre-population of requisition forms and reports with existing data from stock cards. So again, going back to the first objective to reduce the workload of health workers. And then the automated calculations of adjustments and order quantities, as well as the order and the quantities on the stock card. We sync up hourly or whenever internet becomes available in the field. There are validations and duplicate checks in place to avoid data issues while uploading the data to the central server. And then we put in alerts for facility users when there are low stock, overstock, or drug expiry warnings. Then lastly, we digitally record all the stock movements and display the reports on OpenLMIS on the stock on hand level, stock out, consumption, tracer drugs, etc., to help the ministries to plan the allocations. So just really quickly, I wanted to talk about some design choices we make. So first of all, we followed the principles for digital development. So the slide includes a link to that. Basically, the first one, we in the field during the research, we realized that users have a time window to complete their requisitions. And the policy says they should not be uploading requisitions after they miss that window. But we still need that data. So after that time window passed, if the form is past due, we generate a form for the users, which they can review and submit, but not order the order quantities, but not edit the order quantities. The second choice is about the interface design. So we model the form exactly as what they are on paper. This is to reduce the training needs during the scale out. And the third choice is we actually chose to use one facility, one tablet, and one login. This is to avoid the complications of staffing changes in the field. But you can find a write-up of our design principles and processes online, which we will share later. So just really quickly, current usage in the field. Currently, it's deployed in more than 100 facilities in Mozambique, I think about 140. And when we look at the reports, more than 50% of the users are able to update data daily. And we've collected many requisition forms and data, which helped us generate all kinds of reports, which we'll take a very brief look later. So, questions?
Thanks, Danny. So I didn't see any questions in the chat box, but I'm surprised. I thought there might be a few questions about the functionality of ESMS, or perhaps the frequency of data collection, or the way that the stock management functionality operates. So maybe we can just continue on to the demo, but if there are questions for Danny, please just ask them in the chat box, and we can pause partway through and answer those questions. So just a couple questions came in just now, Danny. One question is the auto generation of requisition forms a preferred choice?
Okay, so that's a good question. So when we say generation, it's actually not like auto uploading. So what happens is if it's past 25th, which is the last day of requisition window in Mozambique, the user still needs to click the button to say like generate requisition form. But at that time, like what they'll do is they'll select a date to generate the form for, to close the period. And then the form will be generated with all data. And then they still need to actually review it, sign it to actually complete it and submit it. So without the user's permission, like this form will not be uploaded to the web portal. But again, we want them to upload all the forms because we need that data.
Okay, thanks, Danny. Another question, how many facilities can the software manage?
That is a good question. Well, I mean, this comes in two parts. One is the platform. So OpenLMIS is a very powerful platform, and I believe you can create like many facilities, like thousands of facilities. The other part is with infrastructure. So we did a lot of load testing while doing this. And because in Mozambique, the situation is we need to support about 1,400 facilities. So we did load testing with that and everything works fine with our current AWS infrastructure. But really how many you decide to support depends on like how you set up your servers in the country and then how many you create on the web portal.
Great, and then a follow-on question that are a couple questions from two different people that are somewhat related. How many products and programs can the software handle? And are the requisition forms limited to any specific programs or products?
So again, like how many products or programs can handle? So the platform is very powerful, OpenLMIS. So it can handle, I believe, like as many as products you want to add there. We actually didn't even find the upper limit of products on the platform. And on ESMS, we tested with 1,500 products with our inventory. So that was like the limit we've decided, because in Mozambique, we do not need to support any more than that. The other, sorry, what was the second question?
About different programs.
Different programs, yes. Right now, the forms are very specific to the paper forms we have in Mozambique in terms of design. But if you want to add medical programs to the form, we have flexibility. So for example, when we first piloted, we only had essential medicine program. And then later we added nutrition, rapid tests, etc. to like the requisition forms. But the tricky thing is with the UI. So if you want to actually have a different interface for the different programs, then we need to actually do some more work there.
Okay, that makes sense. And just a couple other questions. Does the app support placing emergency orders? So not routine orders, but emergency.
Yes, it does. But right now in Mozambique, our situation is if this is during the requisition window, you have to submit a regular one. Outside of that window, you can submit an emergency one.
Okay, so there's a predetermined time where a requisition would be considered routine, and if it's outside that time, then it could be considered an emergency requisition.
Yeah, but those are two different workflows.
Okay.
We can show later, yeah.
Okay. And then one other quick question. Can you quickly explain the algorithm used to pre-populate the requisition form from the stock card data?
Okay, yeah. So the form always has like a time period. We have like a beginning of the period and a close of the period, which is basically the date the user does the inventory. So all of the stock at beginning period, inventory adjustments, those are just like plus minus calculations. The order quantities, we actually get a formula from the Ministry of Health in Mozambique. So I don't remember exactly the formula, but basically that's how we use to calculate the theoretical order quantities. The other thing we take into account is the kits. So if you have kits that are not opened, these quantities will be taken into account when calculating the order quantities.
Okay, great. Maybe we can take one more quick question. Do you support workflows related to requisition reviews, approvals, rejections, etc.?
So on the app, no. On the app, we only have like two signature process, which is just saying, review the requisition you created and sign it. This after they upload the requisitions, it goes to the how do you call it, like the Ministry's Health or like DDMs or DPMs of their districts. But currently we have not used the rejection or approval features on the OpenLMIS platform. It is available on the OpenLMIS platform. Mozambique, we're just not using it.
Yeah, and Danny, are you going to address maybe a little bit later the interface between ESMS and OpenLMIS?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, because I think that's a question here around what data and what functionality ESMS has at the health facility level and how that interfaces with OpenLMIS at an intermediate level. So there was just a couple more questions, and I think we'll address those maybe a little bit later. One question that I'd like to revisit, and I think, Danny, you'll talk about a bit later, was you had mentioned that ESMS has been designed specifically for Mozambique. And the question was, can you explain if or how it is available for others to use? So I think that might be a question that you'll be addressing a little bit later in the call. Is that right?
Yeah, sure. We can talk about it later.
Okay. So I think right now, in the interest of time, we should jump to the demo. And then please continue to add your questions to the chat box, and we'll address them after the demo, and then again we'll revisit at the end of the demonstration.
Yep. So I run a demo of the app basically. To save time and to avoid internet situations, I'll use like a specifically designed demo version to demonstrate our workflows. But then we can actually take a look at the actual version that connects to the web portal. So this is the Android app. With like a national emblem of Mozambique. We'll sign in with the credentials we created from the OpenLMIS web portal. And then here I'll demonstrate two workflows. The first one is how if they receive stock from DDM or DPM, and then they issue some drugs to the patients. And then the second one is during the requisition period, how they will fill out inventory and submit requisition forms. So let's look at the first workflow. I think every day the pharmacists will issue some drugs, and at times they will be able to receive a package of drugs from the ministry. This is a stock overview, which lists all the drugs they have in stock in their current facility, basically the ones they use. So this is like a very tailored list with just 13, but in reality, they might have like 169. And then they can add more from the total list of over 1,200 drugs that are approved by the ministry. So when they come to the list, they'll be able to see some warnings. For example, this is low stock. So these warnings are calculated based on their average consumption rate of the previous 3 months with no stock out. And then they will have some expiry warnings. So saying this is expiring soon, so please dispense it or request new ones. When they go into a stock card, so say they receive new stock for the drug 22A08. They make a new movement with entry. And this is the date where they receive this movement, so they receive this drug. And the document number could be like the number on the package. So currently in Mozambique, we don't have a way to integrate with the upstream systems that gives us those numbers. But ideally, this process should be integrated with other systems to actually automatically populate some of these fields. And so we actually enabled lot management in Mozambique. But again, because of the lack of lot management systems on the upstream systems to actually tell us what are the lots available for this drug. So right now they actually have to fill in the lot number manually. I'll just make up something and then select the expiry date for the lot manually. So again, if they have a system that can actually give us this information, that would be great because all of these can be auto-populated. And then they sign it and complete it. And this will be automatically populated and calculated onto the stock card. And then the lot information will be listed on the stock card header. The CMM is the same as average monthly consumption rate over the last 3 months without stock out. And then they can look at a list of their movement history. So when they issue a drug, so very, very similar process. The only difference is they can select how many drugs are requested. So this is to enable us to actually later have a report that is called the fulfillment rate. So how many requests am I able to actually fulfill at 100%? And then if they actually issue drug from a batch that is not the first to expire, they'll get a warning here. So let's just issue from here. And again, same process, it will get populated onto the stock card. So that's basically the stock card or stock movement workflow for the pharmacists daily. They do this usually at the end of the day or beginning of the day during our user research, but sometimes they could also do it ad hoc. Is there any questions related to this workflow? Okay. Okay. So like mentioned above, they can also add new product or archive their. Okay. What happens when there is an error? Any validation step? So I guess error meaning for example, we didn't enter something, or you have a future date movement, and or you didn't add anything here. Yeah, those kind of errors.
Yeah, or for example, if you try to issue more stock than is available.
Yeah, so you're not able to.
Okay, so there are automatic notifications or errors that jump up to tell you that there are places where you need to fill in data or you're entering data that's incorrect. Danny, there was one other question that came up about the requisition process and what happens if a requisition is rejected during the validation process, but I think you'll get to that here in just a few minutes, right?
Yes.
Okay. One other question, Danny, how do you handle physical inventory taking and adjusting for missing products or expired products?
So we'll talk about the inventory very soon, but adjusting for missing products or products expired, we actually do not adjust for product that's expired. So for example, if they decide to issue or put entry of products that are already expired, we give them a warning, but they can still do it. So we don't automatically take the products that have expired out of stock.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so go ahead and continue, and we'll continue to address questions after the demo.
Okay. Yeah, and okay, can you talk about corrections? I issued the wrong amount and need to update. Yes, that's something that we've talked a lot in the field. We had a design for it, but it never actually went into production because it wasn't a high priority enough with our current product roadmap. But basically, I think the design we came up with correction was to actually have undo, which we allow undo for like a certain period of time. But after that, you cannot go any further. It will be difficult for them to say go back 50, 50 entries like before and then try to edit that one, because then you're gonna have to redo all the ones follows. So yeah, basically we didn't release that feature.
And just to be clear, in the chat box, the question was, can you talk about making corrections, like issuing a wrong amount and needing to update?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I think you can move on, Danny.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, the second workflow is during the requisition window, they need to make an inventory and then submit the form. So in reality, today is August the 8th. What they will see is this screen, they're not able to create requisitions on the until the 18th of August. So what they can do is they will create emergency requisitions. So this is like the actual that happens in the field, but for demo purposes, we overrode it and we'll just demo the requisitions for today anyways. So the first step of making any requisitions, they have to complete the inventory. This includes all the products they have in stock currently. So we know what are the stock on hand of the inventory in their stock card, but they still have to actually do it one by one. So for example, they're in the inventory room and then they see this product and then they fill in 300 and they verify it. So everything is okay. And then the next product, somehow they find out there's only 150. So this will tell them there will be a negative adjustment of 30. And then they can verify it or they can edit it. So this is just going to be done for every one of those. So I'll just quickly do them. 60, and then if in the middle they decided to save it. Oh, sure. Sorry, I'll slow down a little bit. So yeah, so actually in reality, their inventory probably have hundreds of drugs. So they'll actually save the inventory. And then the next time they might continue counting the next day. So they come back and then continue to work on the rest.
There's an adjustment. Can they put a reason?
No. That's a good point, though.
So that was the question. When doing an inventory and you have to make an adjustment, can you add a reason for that adjustment?
No, but that is a very good point, actually. Yeah. So that might be something that they actually need in the field. So we didn't have that need at that time, but I think this would be something good to have.
So as a follow-on question, those kinds of points that come up, like the need to add a reason or things like that, what would be the process for incorporating that functionality into the app?
So I guess it just depends on how we design the interface. Either when they're selecting when like they click verify, when it says there will be adjustment, then it could have a pop-up to ask them to select the reason or put down some text. Or after the whole inventory, we can have a review screen and then they can put in the reason for all of these adjustments. So that really depends on how we decide to design that.
Okay, and one other question. If it takes multiple days to finish a complete inventory, so for example, if there are hundreds of products, what date is used when the inventory is finally submitted? Is it the date of submission or is it the date when the inventory was initially started?
The date of submission. So when I click this and I sign this, because up to this point, all of the inventory quantities can be edited. But when I sign it, it's finalized. So this will be the date of the inventory. And then, so when you do requisition, it asks you to select the date of the inventory. So you can actually do it multiple times. You can do the inventory and sign it and do it like 3 times during the whole period. And then you can choose the inventory you decide to use or the requisition form. But the inventory date has to be between 18th to 25th for Mozambique on the actual app. Okay, so yes, so now we have our inventory. We're going to try to generate a requisition form and complete it and upload it. So right now we only did 1 inventory, so this is our only option. And when you say next, it will populate the form with the data from your stock card. So we didn't do many entries. We didn't do many stock movements. The only one we did was for 22A08. So it will calculate some theoretical quantity to request, but because we didn't do many consumptions, so it's 0 right now. You can change the quantity requested on this column. So this is for the pharmacists who are filling out the requisition. And then they need to fill out how many external consultations were performed. So how many patients came to actually ask for medicines. And then they can save it or they can just submit for approval. So let's say I've finished this form. So in some clinics, there are 2 people. One is like the pharmacist and the other is clinical director. So this is when they actually pass the device to the director to ask them to edit the quantity approved column and approve again. But actually in a lot of small facilities, these are the same people. So they will fill out both the requested column and the approved column and then just complete with their own initials. So there's not really a validation process for us to tell if those 2 people are different or the same right now. So yeah, that might be something that we're considering for a new feature later if there's enough needs in the field. And then you complete it and it gets uploaded to the web portal. So because this is a demo version, we didn't prepare like error scenario, but I know there was a question that someone said, if you didn't pass the validation, what happens? So there are a few cases when the validation doesn't pass. For example, so on the web portal, they have to actually configure like the requisition period to say, okay, we're accepting August requisitions now. If that hasn't been configured, you might get an error saying like, okay, like this period doesn't exist yet. So like, please wait. And then when the actual period is created on the web portal, you'll be able to submit again. So some other ones are like data validation errors. In that sense, what will happen is they will have an error message here. So they will have the option to delete that requisition and then like have like work on a new one if there are data issues. There are also some other issues, for example, like the product you were using in the requisition, all of a sudden it got deactivated on the web portal. What happens then is actually we automatically take that deactivated product from the requisition and give you a message. We do not prevent you from submitting the requisition. It just won't include the deactivated products anymore. So those are a few cases. And then we can, I guess, quickly look at the emergency requisition.
Hey, Danny,
yes.
Before we move on to emergency requisitions, can we pause and just make a couple notes from the chats? I wanted to note that folks from CHAI Mozambique have noted on the adjustment question that was asked previously, whether there were reasons or if there was the ability to add a reason for an adjustment type. It was noted that on the adjustment question, the system automatically assigns the adjustment type to one of the Ministry of Health's predefined adjustment categories. So in this case, it would be an inventory correction. Whereas in the stock card mode, you can attribute a specific reason from a broader standard list.
Yes.
Okay, So just wanted to add that note. We had one other question. Would this UI or this user interface, would it work well with a high volume facility carrying many products and many lots for each product?
This is something I already replied to Ashraf, that we're currently improving the application.
Jens, can you speak up just a little bit?
It's what I replied to Ashraf in the chat as well, is that we are currently improving the application and trying to enable bulk movements to make it much easier for the people in the health facility to enter stock changes. And yeah, that's something which is the work we are actually working on.
Great. And then one other question. Does the app produce a month-end summary report and submit that report to OpenLMIS as part of submitting a requisition?
No, it doesn't. So all the reports are actually on the web portal. So for example, you can select different start dates and end dates to generate your report, but the OpenLMIS collects all the data from the app, and then the app, like OpenLMIS generates the report. The only reports available on the app are the reports for pharmacists, not the reports for MOH people. For example, like one thing that they sometimes want to see is a movement history of the last 30 days. Like this is the summary, but this is for the pharmacists. This is not for higher level people. Higher level people should see like there are more like aggregated reports on the web portal.
Okay, one other question relating to that. Has the maintenance of custom reports been a significant pain point? And if so, can you describe why? Jens, you asked, can you specify what kind of pain points you had in mind? So maybe we can quickly, whoever asked that question can quickly clarify. And then Danny, if you'd like to move through that emergency requisition process.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're going to just quickly take a look at emergency requisitions. It's very similar to the requisition process, other than
Dan, can you speak up a little bit, please?
Yes, sure. So it's very similar to the requisition process. The only difference is you get to select your drugs, and then you request the quantities, and you're not able to edit any of those like kits or external consultations fields. So I'm saying I want 100 of this, 200 of this, 300 of this, and I submit for approval. And it's the same signature process.
It's a bit slow.
Oh, it's a bit slow on the sharing. Yeah, so then it will be synced to the web portal, and then they can view it. So I'm not going to talk about MIA. This is basically just another form with very similar process. The only difference is MIA has some additional information captured, including the therapeutic regimens, as well as the number of patients. But again, like these are things made available by OpenLMIS platform already. So we're just uploading those data to OpenLMIS. I will talk about kits quickly. Basically, I think everyone knows this is just getting a package of predetermined quantities of a list of drugs. So we configure the kits products on the web portal. So it will say, for example, this kit has 10 products, and each product has like however many quantities. So when you receive a kit, it just is a kit in your stockroom. But when you unpack it, you actually have different drugs that comes out of the kit. So for example, for this kit, I have 200 expected of this medicine. So when I actually receive it, I can add a lot for this medicine that I received, and I will type in the number here, and then I complete this whole process. When I click complete, all of these will be populated to the stock card automatically. So for example, I have 500 expected here. I only received for 450. Then this 450 will be logged as an entry movement on the stock card of 05A01. And if I didn't receive something, I can say I just did not receive stock of this drug. Okay, so that's about kits. Well, and then lastly, the rapid test. So this is really something we did only for data collection reasons. These are some like additional program data that we need, the Ministry of Health needed just for a complete data set. But this is not like a core data we're collecting for stock data or for requisition data. So it's just a very generic form that they can fill out. And this form will get uploaded to the web portal to be saved.
Yep. I think that was a great demonstration. We have several questions coming in the chat box. Jens is able to respond to some of those via chat. So follow along in the chat box for some of the questions and responses. I think in the interest of time, it would be great if you could quickly, I'm not sure if there's anything else you'd like to talk about in terms of the interface between ESMS and OpenLMIS as the backend platform. And then also to quickly explain the demo environment, and then finally to talk just a couple points over bringing ESMS from the version 2 of OpenLMIS to version 3 series. So I think those are the last points we'd like to discuss. So is there anything you wanted to outline or discuss around the interface between ESMS and OpenLMIS as a platform?
Yeah, sure. So actually we customized, like what we saw, we customized all the forms. We even like this, so in OpenLMIS, just so that they can print out these forms, just like what they look like on paper. But if you want to add new programs to the same form, this is fine. But if you actually want to change this interface on the ESMS platform, you'll need to do additional work to make it look different. Right now, if you look at OpenLMIS, actually it will look the same as the, let me choose a different one maybe. It will actually look the same as the one we have on ESMS because we customized OpenLMIS to do this.
Okay, just a quick question. Are there any back and forth notifications between OpenLMIS and ESMS when requisitions are approved, supplies are made, proofs of delivery, etc.? So is there any back and forth notification or communication?
No, actually right now in Mozambique, OpenLMIS wasn't used as the fulfillment platform for the facilities. So they use like some other systems to do the allocation and fulfillments. So we're not able to actually make that notification from OpenLMIS right now.
But I think that's a good segue into talking just a bit about OpenLMIS, the version 3 series, and specifically version 3.1 and the release of the stock management functionality in OpenLMIS. So Danny, I know this is kind of uncharted territory as OpenLMIS version 3 continues to be developed, but maybe you could just say a couple points about ESMS functioning with a previous version of OpenLMIS, and just a little bit about some of the conversations we've had around making ESMS work with the version 3 series of OpenLMIS and expanding ESMS to work in countries outside of Mozambique.
Yep. Yeah, so I remember we've done an estimate before, breaking down the ESMS by features, and then if we are to use OpenLMIS 3.x for that, how much additional effort we need. And then we came to about, let me see, about 5 to 15 points for acquisitions. So that comes to about, like, I guess, a 10K for acquisitions feature. So this really depends on how you want the interface to look like. Do you want something that looks very fancy, or do you just want something that looks very native Android? That would actually change the effort. And then the other big piece is stock management. We estimated it at 16 points at around $20,000, I think. What is this? Yeah, so for stock management to work with 3.x, it's about like 16 points of effort. Some of the other things that we have to adapt on ESMS side is the authorization, because the previous version of OpenLMIS uses basic authorization, and now it's OAuth. And then we need to change some APIs, and then the product model, there's a new product model on the OpenLMIS 3.x. So if we need to make use of the new attributes available on that model, we need to make some modifications, and those came out to about 7 to 16 points, so about another 10K.
Thanks, Danny. So when all is said and done, as OpenLMIS continues to develop and some of this high-level estimation has been pulled together, there is work to be done to make ESMS functional in other countries, other languages, and also to function with the OpenLMIS version 3 series. So what I'm hearing kind of globally between the different pieces of functionality in ESMS and having that work with the version 3 series, high-level estimates could be anywhere from $30,000 to $60,000 to continue that work. And again, these are very high-level estimates, and it would depend on the level of customization that a client is looking for and what that kind of installation would look like. But we just wanted to give participants on the call an understanding that ESMS was currently developed for the Mozambique context specifically, but that high-level estimations have been performed by ThoughtWorks on the number of story development points and high-level cost estimations for what it would take to make ESMS functional with the OpenLMIS version 3 series and functional in other countries. So thanks, Danny, for providing that information. And if there are further questions about that, you can contact either myself with OpenLMIS or Danny with ThoughtWorks as well, and we can continue that discussion. So Danny, in the few minutes we have left, can you return to your presentation and show participants how they can access the online demo themselves?
Yeah, sure. So we put up a demo environment for the web portal. Again, this is OpenLMIS 2.0, but you can play with the reports and yeah, see how the data uploaded from the app are enabling these reports. So this is back to the second objective of being able to use the data collected and make informed decisions. You can also build it yourself, but I doubt anyone would do that if you have Docker. And then the Android app, we would distribute them by email later. So I'll distribute actually both versions. One is the one that you can actually use to make stock movements and sync up to the web portal, and then see them actually being reflected on the web portal. And the other one is the one that you can play with. So this is like a localized version. You can play with it and break it and do whatever. So the only thing with Android app is because we don't support multiple user logging. So if 3 people are using the same login and uploading different data, this might be some problems. So I guess just play with it, and then if you have any problems, we can try to clean up the data and resolve it.
Thanks, Danny. I haven't seen any additional questions in the chat box, but if folks have additional questions, feel free to ask them there. Danny, one thing I wanted to ask you was about the offline capability of ESMS.
Yes, right. So everything, well, two things. One is your first login has to be online. This is to authenticate the user and to download all the essential data from the web portal. So for example, the product list, and then some configurations. And all the historical data would be downloaded in the background. So after the first time logging, you can pretty much, all the features are available offline, with the exception of syncing up. So if you work offline, once you get online again, all of the data you entered offline will be uploaded online. And if you're always online, all of the data will be uploaded every hour. And obviously, you can always initiate a menu sync by clicking the sync data button. Or you can just erase all of your data by re-sync all the data from the server.
Great, thanks, Danny. Are there any additional questions for Danny?
Actually, I saw one in the chat. It says, regarding potential report pain points, whether reliance on the database's schema, which is the internal implementation detail. So I just want to talk about this really quick. So we use this, we used a OLAP tool to do the data modeling for the reports. So what happens is in the database, we will do some essential data processing to, for example, calculate the consumptions every period, to calculate like the weekly stock on hand. And then the OLAP tool we use will model these data, and then we will make a request to that, and then get the data we want. So I guess it depends on how particular you want data to be. If there's like very particular requirements around those, then yes, we need to actually change some of the data processing, like data calculation process. But if it's just about how to like model them differently, how to present them differently, then this is easier with the tool we're using. If that answers that question.
Thanks, Danny. There was one more question. Is the Android programming native Android programming, or is it based on some version of ODK?
It's native Android programming.
And just to clarify for folks on the call, ODK is OpenDataKit, and we can provide some information about ODK as well. Okay, so it's native Android programming. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, I think if there are no further questions, just want to give folks a moment in case there are any other questions coming in. I think we can go ahead and wrap up. Danny, was there anything else you wanted to visit in the app or anything else you'd like to show?
No, I think feel free to play with it. And if you have questions, just send Tanley and me an email and we'll reply. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Danny. All right, so folks, I think we're going to wrap up the call. If there are any additional follow-on questions, Danny and I are both available via email. You can contact us either by our personal emails that are included in these presentations, or by writing to info@openlmis.org. So on behalf of OpenLMIS and the OpenLMIS community, I'd like to thank Danny and her colleague Jens from ThoughtWorks for putting together this great presentation and taking the time this morning to walk us through the ESMS demo. And thanks, Danny, also for providing the demonstration environment as well for folks to play around in. That's a great additional feature, so people can get a hands-on view of how the app functions. So Danny, Jens, thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate it. And again, follow up on openlmis.org, contact us via email, and we really look forward to providing some additional webinars and demonstrations like this in the future. So thanks everyone for joining.
Cool, thank you, Tanley. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Danny and Jens. Bye-bye.